Syngenta Crop Protection Canada and C&M Seeds present the Wheat School on RealAgriculture.com.
Peter, I want to talk about the Ontario wheat crop today. How many acres are in the ground and what's the condition of the crop?
Yeah, great, Bernard, and thanks very much for the opportunity. So acres in the ground is always a bit of a tough thing to figure out. So what I always do is I talk to Agricor, and Agricor is willing to share their numbers with me, and then you have to apply a factor to that because obviously not every farmer insures their wheat. So if I take the Agricor numbers that are in the ground and I always apply the same factor to them I have for years, that would say that by October the 31st, there was 30,000 acres of wheat planted in the province. Now, the challenge is that normally we don't plant much wheat in November. In fact, oftentimes if we get 10,000 acres of wheat planted in November, we'd say, wow, that's incredible. But we have this big chunk of the province that had no wheat in November. So you get into Elgin County, you get Kent, Chatham-Kent, Essex County, they had zero wheat in. And there's growers down there who absolutely want wheat in the rotation, or they need straw, they need a place to spread manure. And so several of the agribusinesses in Chatham-Kent had their biggest weekend of the entire fall the first weekend in November. So we know we planted a lot of wheat in November. That's the big question mark. My guess, right or wrong, is that we could have planted 70,000 acres or 75,000 acres of wheat in November this year. That's astounding, but that would put us at around 710,000 acres of wheat in the province this year.
Now, you mentioned a lot of that wheat went in late. How's the November wheat doing given all the wet conditions?
Yeah, so even the wheat that didn't go in late, the wheat that went in normal around Thanksgiving, is acting like late planted wheat. And that's because we planted, for whatever reason, maybe it's because farmers always have to work holidays, the October wheat, we planted the bulk of it right at Thanksgiving. That's just normal. As soon as we got to Wednesday following Thanksgiving Monday, it started to rain, and it rained and it was cold for 3 weeks solid. Wheat does not like wet feet, and if the soil is saturated, it doesn't move. So we're standing right now in Thanksgiving wheat here at Guelph, and this wheat, there's some pretty decent looking wheat, but for the time it was planted, it should be much further advanced than what it is. And this wheat may not perform the way we would normally expect it to because it's acting like late planted wheat. Late planted wheat typically has less yield potential than early planted wheat. The November wheat, intriguingly enough, I actually thought was in better shape than this wheat until about a week ago. Because we planted on, let's say, November the 4th, and then we had this gorgeous stretch of weather right up until about November the 18th, where it stayed dry, we had above normal temperatures. It was still cool, but that wheat was just nicely starting to emerge, and it had never had wet feet. And so at that point, I was saying the November wheat could well out yield the October wheat because it had never come under those saturated conditions. Since then, the game has changed again. Some growers have over 5 inches of rain since that time frame, and that November wheat is under the gun as well from a wet foot scenario. Remember that wheat evolved in the Fertile Crescent in the Middle East under high elevation and very arid conditions. It hates wet feet. So these wet conditions are really not what we'd like, and wheat is kind of struggling at this point in the province. Whether it's October or November, the wheat crop is not as good as I would like it to be.